Hello, Bits and Bones. It's January 2021. This is technically the first non-Patreon or intro video that I've done so far, and I've been seeing a lot of book year in reviews going up on YouTube for how they did in the previous year, what they read and what they didn't read, and I thought, that sounds kind of fun. I should maybe do that, especially considering this year my goal is to read twice as many books as I did last year, and the year before that I fucking read none. And I'm finally a reader. So I should kind of celebrate that, and if I record this, then I can look back on it in later years and see how far I've come. Or if I just give up on it again, because I've read all the good things in the world there are to read, like I always worried would happen when I was a kid, and that's why I didn't read in the first place. So, let's just have a look at this, shall we? My year in review 2020. I read 6,747 pages, which seems like a lot. I read 28 books. Oh, did I now? Good for me. Honestly, I didn't keep track. I binged a bunch of books at the end. Like in December, I think I knocked off like 7, maybe even 10. They were all kind of shorter, and I'd already reached my goal. I don't know, I just got thirsty. I got thirsty for literature. The longest book I read was Pretty Girls, which is 688 pages. I read it on my phone on my library app, so I think they extended the amount of pages for me, like, while I was doing it. I think it was like, it didn't feel like that was that big a number. I know when I first saw it, when I opened it on the app, I was like, oh shit, what have I got myself into? This is literally the longest book I'm going to have read since Game of Thrones. And in some places, I think Pretty Girls kind of felt like that. Some of it could have been shortened up a little bit, but at the same time, is it stupid to say you're proud of yourself for reading? It's something that you should just do for fun and something that you enjoy, but if it's something that you get out of practice on, then it's so much more of a chore to get back into it. It's like people that leave social media and they can't come back after 2 years. It just feels pointless, you know? It's just one more thing to do with your day. But I do enjoy reading, and I am excited that I read a book that long. It's like, I'm probably not going to read one that long this year, but now I know that I can, and that's all that matters. Of course, the shortest book I read was The Book with No Pictures, which was 48 pages. I read it to make a point. When I first saw it, I was like, I feel like BJ Novak is just doing a cash grab. He wrote a children's book. That's just what I assumed it was. And to some extent it was. If you saw my review for it, I do believe that the money that it is worth does not equal the money that you should... How am I trying to say this? I don't think it's worth the amount of money that he's selling it for, because the concept of the book itself is to make the reader, the adult, say funny things for the kid, but there is literally no reread value in that. After they've read the book, it's fucking done. So I wouldn't want to pay $20 for something that you can literally only spend 10 minutes on and never revisit. Plus, there's no vocabulary for children young enough to actually find that kind of shit funny, because half of it's made up words or like silly words. There's entire pages of just literal gibberish. So, not into that. I didn't do a book review on the other BJ Novak book that I read afterwards, which is, just gonna scroll down. Don't you pretend you didn't see what I just showed you. Oh, One More Thing, Stories and Other Stories by BJ Novak. And it made me understand why he wrote a kid's book in the first place. It definitely makes sense for him as a personality, and if those are the kinds of short stories that he is drawn to and likes to write. So now I'm not holding it against him. I don't feel like he did it just for a cash grab. I feel like the book itself inherently isn't worth that money, though. Just saying. The average book length I read in 2020 was 240 pages. Okay. To some people, that might feel like pretty average to short, but for someone that hasn't read for a decade, like, that feels friggin' long. I thought that all of the books I read were like 150 pages to 200 max. I was just gonna cut it off. Like, anything over 200 pages was too much of a commitment for me, because I was going to take literally months to read it. The most popular book I read was The Alchemist, which I understand because it is, well, as far as I know, taught in schools, so there's that. It's one of those stories that transcends age, so it's both valuable to 12-year-olds that can read it, and the allegories and the storytelling is also interesting to adults. It's got a lot of good messages, kind of on a philosophical note, if you're looking for a different way to look at life or refresh the perspective that you had as a kid in what really matters. But it was not the best book that I read, and I would have liked to see something else in that spot as most popular, because I wasn't engaged by it. It was a very passive story because of the allegorical nature of it. My least popular book was The Prisoners of Stewartville, which is entirely expected. It was published by an indie author and or Twitter friend of mine. That's why I bought it and picked it up, because I wanted to support her, and it was honestly really good, and I wish that it was more popular. So if you're interested in horror books, this one has its themes so intertwined with the story and conclusion that it's honestly, like, I don't know what to say, what word to use. It's so coherent, and I appreciate it. So if you appreciate that kind of thing, go check her out. She's on a roll right now. She's writing so many things, and she's leaving me in the dust. So go check out Shannon Felton. She's a cool dude. My average rating for 2020 was 3.3 stars. Now, I feel like that's a little higher than it actually is, because as you can see, I had a bunch of, like, I read both of the Nathan Ply books, which are just fucking 5 stars, you know? And there's no way to not give them 5 stars, because they're amazing and adorable. So that probably averaged out all of the reviews that I did not give a very high score on, like Deadpool v. Gambit, which got 1 star, and that was my first read of the year. Good thing it didn't deter me. Such a mess. Such a mess. So, looking through this, I see a lot of books that I read because I was trying to get myself to read. Half of them are books that I didn't want to read. They were more like books that I felt like I had to. Hopefully that changes this year. Hair on me. Also, as you can see, there's a couple short story collections, and there's, well, read that one for the memes. That one's a kid's book, short stories, comic. Like, it's a very wide range, but at the end there's a bunch of poetry, novella, poetry, short stories. Definitely feel like the page count thing at the top of this it's boosting me a little bit more than it should be. If it had word count, I'm sure comparatively to pages, it would not look nearly as good as other people that actually read novels constantly. But overall, that was pretty fun to look at. I am proud of myself, and I hope that in the coming year, I will just kill it again. I'll double the amount of books that I read, so that'll be 56. You know what? Forget. I want to read 100 books in the year, but I'm not going to put that on my Goodreads just in case I fail, and I do not handle failure very well, so we're not putting that on me. If you're interested in keeping up with the books that I am reading or the reviews that I have, I've got Goodreads, which I will link in the area below. I also go out of my way to put them on Instagram too, because Bookstagram is pretty, and I like that there's a community over there even though they don't talk to me. And I also I put my reviews everywhere. I put my reviews on Twitter, which just links to the Goodreads, and same with Facebook, but nobody uses Facebook anymore. You can find extended and analytical reviews and articles on Medium that I'm doing now instead of this YouTube thing, not scripting videos anymore. So yeah, follow me on Goodreads, Twitter, Instagram if you want to see my reviews. And if you would like extended analytical takes on any books or movies that I watch, then go on Medium, which I will also link in the description. If you didn't know, I have a Patreon where I will be giving free read links to all of the Medium things that I post throughout the month in case you don't have a subscription. So if you'd like to support me in any way, shape, or form, I will have a link to that in the description below also. Thank you so much for watching, and let's just kill it this year with reading.